Hi. In today's session, we would want to look into setting out a Jupyter Notebook environment using Anaconda on Windows machine. So we are going to look into two ways of getting started and working into a Jupyter Notebook file. And the first way is the simplest way and easy way. The second way is the one that I have termed recommended and requires some basic computer skills. Both of them, they are all good and correct to use, but obviously there are different advantages of using the recommended way over the simplest way. And the objective of this session will be to install Anaconda, launch Anaconda, and then eventually launch the Jupyter Notebook. When you're looking at the simpler way, which is way number one or option number one, we then want to download and install the Anaconda Distribution from their website, anaconda.com. And then we are going to launch the Anaconda prompt and eventually launch the Jupyter Notebook. When we are looking into the way number two, option number two, which is the recommended, we are also going to also download and install the distribution, launch Anaconda prompt, change the working directory, and we are also going to look into creating a new environment and then changing to that environment. Then eventually we are also going to install what we call Jupyter Lab instead of using the Jupyter Notebook. And then launch the lab. And then we're also going to look into how you can work around the environment as you practice to do your working in Python using Jupyter Notebook or in machine learning techniques. So let's get started. What you would want to do is you then want to download Anaconda. So you type Anaconda Distribution and you select the Anaconda from anaconda.com. Takes you to the Anaconda website, and the browser itself is going to detect the OS on your machine, and we are going to be using Windows machine, so you are going to then want to click on the download button so that it downloads the executable file for Anaconda for Windows. Once you download it, then automatically downloads to your download folder where you can then execute and install. I'm not going to download and install because I've already downloaded and already installed it on my machine, and depending on the speed of your bandwidth, internet bandwidth, it's going to take some time definitely, and also depending on the speed of your machine. So that's what you would want to do if you don't have Anaconda installed on your machine. Type Anaconda, search for Anaconda Distribution, then takes you to this website, then you click the download button. For other users who are using different OS, you would want them to go down there and select the appropriate OS download that suits your OS. Once we have managed to download and then install, you then want to launch Anaconda. So what you do is you go on your search box on your toolbar on your computer, and then you type Anaconda. And there are two ways of launching the Anaconda. You can use the navigator. For the purpose of our session, we are going to use the Anaconda prompt. So I'm going to select the Anaconda prompt. So make sure that you are not using the default command prompt of your machine. Rather select the Anaconda prompt. You then notice that it gives you that it is an Anaconda prompt, and what you have there is that when it launches by default, it will be in what we call the base environment of the Anaconda prompt that is installed by default, and then it's going to give you the path of the way the OS is installed, and it's going to launch into your user folder of the person that is logged into the machine. So once you are here, then you can now launch your Jupyter Notebook, and you'll find that the Jupyter Notebook by default is going to launch into the default browser on your machine. So to launch, you just type Jupyter Notebook, and also take note that notebook there is one word, so you type Jupyter with a space and then notebook, and then you press enter. It's going to automatically launch and open the default browser that you were using, or the current browser that was on your machine, and automatically it launches the Jupyter environment, and it automatically loads all the files that are available as for the users that is logged on the machine. And from there you can then choose the path or where you would want to save your files. So for simplicity, let's just say you then select your desktop by clicking on the folder. So it takes you to the folder that are on the machine, where you can automatically from there also launch your Python 3 to load the file of the new Jupyter Notebook on a machine. But for the sake of presentation, you might want to create a new folder first, and the new folder will automatically be loaded on a machine. You then want to look for it. New folder. Let's hope I'm going to be able to pick it up. Okay, where is it? New folder. Okay, new folder. See if I can locate it. Okay, new folder. Okay, rather it's an untitled folder. So to click on it, and then from there you can always see if we can rename it. Right. Let's see, go back, select. Okay, rename, and let's say it's our demo. Okay, and there we have our folder on our desktop. Then we can select it, and then from there we can then click the new, and then the Python 3. Of course, that is the Jupyter Notebook file that we're going to be using. And once again, it comes untitled, just like the folder that we created. So we can always click there to rename it. And then we say again, it's our demo simple. Demo simple, rename. So you see that we have managed to rename. And the good part about the Jupyter Notebook file is that it automatically checks itself and saves files as you work. But we do encourage you that from time to time, you always make sure that you save your work by clicking the Save button. And when you are in the Jupyter Notebook file, you'll find that the cells there, you have got the one that with a blue edge there. And also you take note of this where it says code. Wherever it says code, it is the cell that you then can manipulate in and writing your code. For example, if I'm going to say A assign 1, and then you click on the run to execute the file. You will see that when it is executed, it then gives you a number there. That is not a number to refer to the cell, but rather to say this execution is at position number 1. And then we can always again do a print A, and then you also click the run, then it prints the value that is stored inside the variable A. That's how you would want to work when you're using the command cell. And remember, you can always say A and print, and again say run. It gives you the same value as that. So we are not going to go into the depth in this session in terms of how to maneuver into the code cell, but rather I just want you to know that when you've got the cell, the command cell, you can always write your commands there. And the other option that you have as you go to another cell is to change this cell into Markdown. And then when you're on Markdown, it allows you to write some notes or text inside there. This is demo session on Jupyter Notebook Environment, and then you also execute, and you can see the difference between a cell which is a code and a cell which is a Markbook or Markdown. It allows you to write some notes inside the Markdown cell. So basically, this is how you would want to launch your Jupyter Notebook file using the simpler way. So we are going to leave, and then so let's just refresh that. Okay, let's shut it down, and we are making the assumption that we have already installed the machine, your Anaconda. So I'm going to stop the Jupyter by pressing Command C on my keyboard, and then from there what I'm going to do is just close it and restart the whole process again. This time we are now going to use the recommended, so I'm going to select my Windows prompt and then select Anaconda prompt, just like what we did before. And when we are going to use the recommended session, I recommend that you do not work from the base environment of the Anaconda, on the basis that when you are working with the different projects in your Jupyter Notebook, you have to install different packages which have got different dependencies, and sometimes these dependencies, they might end up conflicting, and they might crash, causing some of your Jupyter Notebook file to then stop functioning, and you would then need to restart the whole installation of your environment or the Anaconda itself. So I recommend that you then want to say, for each project that you are working in, or for projects that have got similar nature in terms of the package that you're going to be using or to install, you then want to group them and then put them into different environments. So to do that, what we now need to do is before we change the environment is let me show you how the folder structure looks like on my desktop. So on my desktop, I've got two hard drives or partitions inside my computer. So the C, as you can see there, is the one that has got the OS, and then I've got the other option, the hard drive partition, which is a D, which has got where I put my files. I do this for the purpose of that sometimes this C might also corrupt, and I would want to have my files on a separate partition, which I can always quickly back up and also recover from quickly. So what I'm going to do is I would want to move away from using the C, as you saw from the Anaconda prompt as you are here. Let me just try to reduce this. You see that it's running from C, which is this partition. So I want it to run from the D partition. So to do that, I'll just type D, full colon, and change. Press enter. You see that now the machine, our prompt is now operating from the D prompt, but we are still working in the base environment. So what we want to do is we then want to run some few codes or commands that allows us to see and to view the environments that are available on our machine. So to do that, we do type Conda environment list, press enter. Okay, so if you check there, you'll see that we have got 4 environments that are Conda environments that are available in our machine. We've got the base with which is indicated there that this is the one that is currently activated on our machine. We also have got the other environments that we have. So we want to create our own environment in which we are going to work from. So let's say Conda create, then dash name, and let's say we call it notebook demo, then press enter. So then ask you to whether you want to proceed or not. So you say, you choose yes, and then automatically it has created the environment. And let's check to see if the environment has been created. So what I've done is I'm just pressing the up arrow on my keyboard to pull down all the commands that I've already executed in this session in terms of the Anaconda prompt. Or you can always type Anaconda environment list and then you press enter. After pressing enter, you can then definitely see that we now have an additional environment that has been created, which is our notebook demo. That's the environment that we want to work from now. But if you check there, we still have the base being the one that is selected. So then we need to activate our new environment by saying Conda activate and notebook demo. Press enter. As you can see now, we have now changed it from the base environment and we are now in notebook demo. And we can always do the same thing again to say Conda environment list. And you can now see that now the notebook demo is the one that is activated. So this is the recommended, the option number 2, which I recommend that you do is, first of all, you have to move away from the C folder, which is the default where there is an OS. Also move away from the default environment, which is the base, and create your own. So you can always create, give these notebook files the project that you're working on as names, so that you can quickly know which environment you want to work from, where you know the different packages that you have installed on your machine. So once we have done this, we can always call our Jupyter Notebook and launch the notebook to the default browser that we were working in. And I have already demonstrated that in a simpler way. So I'm going to add another option that you can do. In our option number 2, we talked about Jupyter Lab. So to do that, we then want to install Conda. So you can use Conda install, and when you are working with the Conda, Conda install, you would then want to launch Jupyter. Install our Jupyter Lab. But most of the time it is recommended that you use Conda Forge, but you can always do this. I prefer to use pip install. Alright, it's not recognizing the terminal, so let's just work around with Conda, right? Conda install. So we just wait to see the Conda launch or install. It then prompts us to whether we want to proceed. Okay, so you can check there, it has installed our Jupyter Lab. So just the same way we launched our Jupyter Notebook, we do the same, but instead of saying notebook, we say lab, and then we launch by pressing enter. And automatically it launches and gives you all the different files that are available on your machine. What I like most about this, it then gives you the command prompt again, which you can work from. And just the same way we did, this looks more professional and smart way. Now I can create a new folder. So the new folder is down there, and I can always call it demo2 as a new folder, and I can always double click to go into it as if I'm working on a machine, on a Windows machine, whereas you're in a browser, and then you can click the add button there to launch, and then it gives you the options for what activity you would want to work in or on. This is why one of the reasons why I prefer to use the Jupyter Lab. And so we are going also to choose Python 3, and it launches the file, and we can always click there to rename. Click on top, right click, and select rename, and we say this is demo2. And then click rename. You see that it is renamed, and the file also is managed to rename. And now we can always work the same way we were doing in our previous session. So let's say you are here, you want to say B assign 1, and then you have got these shortcuts there. You can always click on the cell to run, and then you can always call the B and execute the file, and the value there is executed. And then in the event that you want to add more cells down there, you see this is the advantage. You can just click to add another cell, or you can always click on the insert cell below. That's how you navigate through. This is why I like about using them. One thing I like about using them, the Jupyter Lab, is also you've got different functions that we have there. Suppose I was going to say hello there, and remember like we said before, that these two other cells, the cells by default is a code. So when you click there, you see that it is in code. And if I try to run this cell, it's going to give me an error, because this is not something that is recognized as a code, but rather this is text. So what you would want to then to do is then to change that into a markdown, and then you execute or run the cell. Then it allows you to write some content. So in an event that you wanted to move the cell upwards, you just go there and then you click the cell, it then moves up. Or you can always move a cell below, or you can create a cell above or below, or you can always delete. So these are additional functions that I like about working in Jupyter Lab over Jupyter Notebook. Okay, let's look at another way of working around environments. So we click the insert cell above, and now we have got a cell that is above. And let's say we want to play around some headings. So we say hash, and then you say heading, and you run the cell, change it to markdown, run the cell, so it gives you a heading. Let's click there and let's add a cell below, and this time let's say 2 hashes and say heading, and 1, 2, 3 hashes, let's say heading. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4 headings, hashes, and say heading. And when you are working in your cell with the code, you can always press Shift Enter, Shift, and then Enter on your keyboard. So you press down your Shift, you hold, and you press Enter. It executes that cell. Okay, so Shift, Enter, then it executes the cell. So you see that the number of the hashes that we're putting there determines the font size of the heading that you are using. There are many skills that you can do while you're working in Markdown to make sure that your Jupyter Notebook looks professional. It has some comments, some headings, some tables in it, bolding, italics, all types of formats that you can put and you make sure that your notebook file looks professional. So for the purpose of this session, this is what I wanted to show you. Let's just take a quick preview of what we looked into. So we started with the Jupyter Notebook on our machine, and we wanted to look into this 2 ways, the simpler way and also the recommended way. And where in a simpler way, you have to download and install your Anaconda from the Anaconda website, and then you need to launch the Anaconda prompt, and from the Anaconda prompt just type Jupyter Notebook. That is the simplest way. And the recommended way is whereby you do also want to then change step number 3, change the working directory. Step number 4, you create a new working environment, and then you change or activate into the working environment, and then you install your Jupyter Lab, and then you launch the Jupyter Lab. That's it for this session. Thank you so much for taking your time to be with me and to this session. I hope that it helps you as we move forward or as you practice your Jupyter Notebook. Thank you.